Le vin chaud means mulled wine, and it's a very popular part of winter Christmas markets in France. And you might know that wine is a really big part of French culture, so today we'll share some words and phrases that will help you blend right in. In this video, I'll be covering how to read a menu and order wine, the French traditions of l'apéro and le vin chaud, share some fancier wine words, and give you essential phrases for a night out. With all these words and phrases, you'll be able to feel comfortable at any French social setting and really appreciate France's wine culture. And as a bonus, I'll give you a fun fact about wine culture in France after every section. Just like one of our previous viewers loved, anything you could possibly need to know about wine will be all in one place in this video. And thank you so much for your wonderful comment.
These French really know how to make wine.
So whether you're preparing for a night out or just going out for dinner, you need to know how to read the menu. You probably already know le vin rouge, le vin blanc, le vin rosé, and le champagne, but a lot of learners make the mistake of just stopping there. Instead of trying to memorize all of the wine regions in France, here are some words to help you describe what kinds of wine you like. Pay attention to how I phrase these sentences as well. J'aime les vins secs. J'aime les vins secs. Je préfère les vins doux ou moelleux. Je préfère les vins doux ou moelleux. J'aime bien des vins fruités. J'aime bien des vins fruités. En général, j'aime les vins blancs frais. En général, j'aime les vins blancs frais. You might also see le kir on the menu. Le kir is actually made from crème de cassis, which is a liquor from black currants, and white wine. For an even fancier version, you might choose le kir royal, which is made from crème de cassis and champagne. These drinks are very popular in France, and if you order them, you're sure to sound like a native. If all else fails, remember, you can just ask, qu'est-ce que vous recommandez? Our first fun fact is that even though wine prices have a broad range, it's not uncommon to find a glass of wine for 4 to 6 euros at casual bars compared to the usual $10+ that American bars usually charge. Although you usually don't have to ask, you can say Je voudrais voir la carte des boissons, s'il vous plaît, to ask for the drink menu. Okay, so now the server is coming by. How do you think you order a glass of wine? It's pretty simple. Je voudrais un verre de vin rosé, de chardonnay, etc. If you're with a group of friends, you might say On commande une bouteille de pinot gris, s'il vous plaît. And if your group of friends is a bit smaller, you might ask Est-ce que vous avez des demi-bouteilles? Est-ce que vous avez des demi-bouteilles? To request half bottles. One of the most common ways to order is simply Je prends un verre de champagne, s'il vous plaît. Notice the verbs I use are simple. Je voudrais, vouloir in le conditionnel, commander, which means to order, and don't worry, this is perfectly polite. Je prends, prendre in present tense, and avoir with est-ce que to make it more polite and formal. And once you have your drinks, be sure to say santé or chin chin or à ta santé to say cheers. But you know how it is. With a group of friends, it can get chaotic, so if you want to signal that we should all cheers, you can use the phrase on trinque. On trinque. This signals to everyone, let's toast and drink. When you're ready for the check, you just have to flag your server down and say l'addition s'il vous plaît, and l'addition means the check.
Je peux vous proposer un verre? Champagne, jus d'orange?
Vous savez comment on appelle un cocktail à base de champagne et de jus d'orange?
Oui, un mimosa.
So I know that was a lot of information. Let's do a quick quiz to test your knowledge. What's wrong with this sentence? Je veux un verre de vin rouge. So there's actually two things wrong. The first is that you should probably say je voudrais to make it more polite instead of je veux. And the second is that un verre is masculine, so it's je voudrais un verre de vin rouge, s'il vous plaît. Now, let's say you want to order this bottle for your table. How do you think you would go about doing that? Well, you have a couple options. You could say On commande une bouteille de pinot noir, s'il vous plaît, or perhaps Je prends une bouteille de pinot noir, s'il vous plaît. One thing I noticed when I was living in Paris was that after work on any day of the week, I would see people enjoying a glass of wine and some snacks with their friends. And I thought, Isn't this an expensive thing to do? So fun fact number 2 is that it's not customary to leave tips or les pourboires in France. Whereas some fancier US bars might even add a mandatory gratuity, in France you only really tip if you want to indicate exceptional service, and it's just not common at casual bars and restaurants. Even at a very fancy place, the most you would leave is 5 to 10%. You know that awkward time between work and dinner where it's too early for a restaurant but too late for a cafe? What are you supposed to do? Well, that French tradition of having a glass of wine and some snacks with your friends has a name. It's called l'apéro ou l'apéritif, and it's awesome.
Salut Rika.
Salut Damien. Tu veux pas venir prendre un petit apéro là?
Technically, l'apéro is a pre-meal appetizer, and it's used to whet your appetite. It's usually eaten before lunch or dinner and enjoyed with your friends before a larger meal, but a lot of people agree that it's also something that they do to catch up with their friends or colleagues after work around 18h. Some common things you would enjoy with l'apéro in France is des cacahuètes, du fromage, des saucissons, des charcuteries, which in French means cold cut meats, not the whole board of stuff like us Americans say, des cornichons, which are tiny little pickles and they're so yummy and fun, and of course du pain. If you're looking to enjoy l'apéro at a restaurant or a bar, you might walk around with your friend and ask, on s'installe où? On s'installe où? S'installer in this context means to settle in, like which restaurant should we sit at? Once you're seated, you can ask your server, est-ce que vous avez des petites choses à grignoter? Grignoter means to snack on or nibble on. So for the fun fact for this section, it's usually legal to drink outside. Of course, there's regional laws in France, but for the most part, it's not uncommon to hit up a little grocery store and grab les petits trucs à grignoter, du vin, and enjoy l'apéro outside with your friends. So if you're not at a bar or a restaurant, you will need to uncork your wine. And so the cork is called un bouchon, and to pull is tirer. So a corkscrew or a wine opener is called un tire-bouchon. When I was studying abroad in Paris, my friends and I wanted to split a bottle of wine, but we didn't have a wine opener. So they volunteered me as the French-speaking tribute to go downstairs and ask the pizza shop owner if he could open the bottle for us. The phrases "Est-ce que vous avez un tire-bouchon?" or "Vous pouvez déboucher la bouteille s'il vous plaît?" would have been really useful because I didn't know any of those words, but he was still nice enough to open the bottle for us. So maybe you want to get into more of the sophisticated side of wine. So here are a few French words that are sure to impress. Our first word is le cépage. I'm going to play a video and turn off the French and English subtitles, and afterwards you have to tell me what le cépage is.
Aujourd'hui, nous allons découvrir les 5 mots à connaître absolument pour avoir l'air d'un grand amateur de vin. Premier mot à connaître, cépage. C'est la variété de vigne ou de raisin.
Okay, so what is le cépage? Le cépage est la variété du vigne ou de raisin, the kind of vine or grape used in the wine. We can also learn a fun fact about cépage.
Info bonus, certains vins sont obtenus à partir de raisins issus de plusieurs cépages. Ce sont les vins d'assemblage. D'autres sont réalisés à partir d'un cépage unique. Ce sont les vins de cépage.
Word number 2 is l'appellation. Let's turn back on the French subtitles for this one.
Appellation. Une appellation prend 2 P et 2 L. L'appellation donne des garanties sur la qualité du vin.
So if you want another definition, you can also click on the word and Fluent U will give you its own definition of appellation. We also have a helpful little grammar tip here. And here, provenance is its origin or source, and here the video is talking about the region where the wine originates from. What I'm going to actually do is add this to a flashcard deck so that I can refer to wine-related words in the future. The third word is le millésime, which is basically just the year that the wine was produced. So why is this important?
Troisième mot à connaître, millésime. C'est l'année de récolte des raisins. Par exemple, 720 avant Jésus-Christ ou encore 2005. Le millésime est important car des vins d'une même appellation diffèrent selon leur année de production en fonction de la météo. Comme vous, la vigne se gèle parfois les feuilles en plein juillet.
If there's any word that you don't know, you just roll over, and
Se gèle.
here we have the conjugated definition. So se gèle means is or are freezing, saying that the grapes or the grape tree is basically frozen.
Juillet. Connaître le millésime permet aussi de savoir si une bouteille doit être conservée encore 10 ans ou débouchée sur le champ.
If you recognize this word from before, it's the conjugation of the verb déboucher, which means uncorked. So the two reasons why le millésime, or the year of production, is important is because the year of production and weather can make the taste of the wine different, and also that way you know whether to age the wine or enjoy it right away, sur le champ. Word number 4 is le tanin.
Quatrième mot à connaître, tanin. Un grand merci à la peau et aux pépins du raisin qui produisent ces
Les pépins are the seeds or the pips.
substances appelées tanins. Les tanins apportent au vin certaines de ses propriétés gustatives.
So what I want to point out here is that certaines can actually go before the noun or after the noun. You might see it as something like certaines qualités, but also like it is here, certaines de ses propriétés gustatives, some of their.
Gustative.
And here gustatif is
Gustative.
of or relating to taste. Since food and wine culture is so big in France, I find this word comes up a lot. By clicking on the word, you can go through sample sentences and video examples and see where in a sentence words tend to appear. Here we have it before the noun, and here in this sentence we have it after the noun. And our final word is le nez. Like your nose?
Cinquième mot à connaître, nez. Le nez, c'est l'ensemble des arômes et parfums perçus
Here, parfum means flavors or aromas. It doesn't necessarily just mean perfume as in the scent that you would put on your body. And then enhumant is a present participle. It comes from the verb humer, and it basically means while sniffing, enhumant.
en humant le vin, puis en bouche. On appelle bouquet l'ensemble des arômes flairés en humant le verre.
Flairer is such a cool verb. It means to pick up the scent of. And so le bouquet is basically the combination of scents that your nose picks up while smelling the wine. Quanto is a pretty uncommon phrase. It means as for or with regards to. And without a subtitle reference like this, you might get confused trying to look up these words by themselves, or you might not even hear it because it sounds kind of similar to quando, which doesn't really make sense. When you see words that you maybe don't know, I would encourage you to think about the words that you've seen before looking at the definition. So let's say you didn't know the word la saveur. I would encourage you to think about some of the other words we've seen in this clip before looking at the definition. Before we learn the word gustative, which is of or relating to taste, and here we have en bouche, in your mouth. So I would guess la saveur to be the flavor, which is correct. So déceler means detected, so basically they're talking about the flavor or the taste that is detected in your mouth. As you can see, it's not just knowing these 5 fancy words that's important, but also knowing words that relate to them, like flairer, knowing the syntax of different words in French, and knowing some synonyms like le goût and la saveur to really sophisticate your vocabulary. This entire process is seamless on Fluent U, and there's a link to a free trial in the description, so you should definitely check it out. So if you visit France or neighboring regions in the winter, you might notice signs for le vin chaud. Hot wine, is that a thing? Le vin chaud means mulled wine, and it's prepared with spices and citrus fruit. You can find it at les marchés de Noël or Christmas markets, but you can also buy it bottled at stores, and it's absolutely delicious. Let's watch a little video on how to make le vin chaud and pick up some new words.
Pour mon vin chaud, il me faut évidemment du vin. Alors le choix du vin, c'est important. Plutôt fruité, avec quand même une certaine matière. Et moi, en l'occurrence, je me suis tourné vers une cuvée que j'adore.
So first, how did he describe his wine? You would be correct if you said plutôt fruité avec une certaine matière. And that second part basically just means that the wine has some substance to it. He also used another vocabulary word, une cuvée, which is basically the wine variety or batch. Now let's take a look at some of the spices that we need to make le vin chaud. Pay attention carefully because I will quiz you afterwards.
Une badiane, anis étoilé, 3 capsules de cardamome, 3 clous de girofle, un peu de muscade que l'on va râper, de l'anis vert, environ une cuillère à café, et une cuillère à café de fenouil. Plus des agrumes, pas de vin chaud sans agrumes.
So now let's match all of these spices to their pictures. I'm going to start with some of the easy ones. De l'anis étoilé. Étoile means star, so this probably matches with the star-shaped spice here. Then we have de la cardamome, which is a cognate, cardamom. And du gingembre frais is also kind of intuitive. Gingembre means ginger, so let's match this one to fresh ginger. Du fenouil also looks a little bit similar to fennel in my opinion, so I'm going to match it with this picture. If you didn't know, un clou means a clove, so du clou de girofle refers to these black little cloves. De la muscade means nutmeg. And this last one looks like a fancy word, des agrumes, but it really just means citrus fruit, like oranges. So if all these wine facts are getting you in the mood for a little wine night, here are some essential phrases to get your night started. Tu veux sortir ce soir? Tu veux sortir ce soir? This means, do you want to go out tonight? And especially in this context, in the evening, sortir basically means to go out and have drinks or go out to a restaurant. Ça te dit d'aller boire un verre? Ça te dit d'aller boire un verre? Do you want to get a drink tonight? Un verre in this case means a drink, not literally a glass. Tu bois un coup avec moi? Tu bois un coup avec moi? Will you have a drink with me? Boire un coup means to have a drink. And once you've grabbed your friends, c'est parti, on y va! If you like this video, be sure to check out our previous video on how to make French-speaking friends. That way you'll have all the phrases you need to find a group of friends and also have a great time in a French-speaking country. I've also included a free PDF below of all of this information so you can look at it anytime.